Hi, everyone. So we're going to be putting up a slideshow for you guys so you're able to kind of see a PowerPoint as we go through the materials, and eventually all of this stuff will be posted as well. But the panelists kind of talked a lot about what you can do over the summer. So that's what I'm going to start with, is some of the things that you can kind of take off your plate over the summer. So I don't know if you guys can see the slideshow yet. We can? Okay, because I can't see it. So, so the first part of the thing that I'm going to talk about is called an autobiographical sketch. So what this is it's a little something that we ask for you guys to write and kind of help us get a little bit more detail to put into some of those letters of rec. It's typically one of the last things that we read before writing our letters of recommendation for you. So I usually ask my kids to put as much effort into it as they want me to put into their letters of recommendation. So at times kids will open it and it is quite a few questions, and they get a little overwhelmed and they kind of close it, or they don't know what to do. I would say take it one question at a time. Sometimes it's something as like, what is a favorite quote that you have, or what is a favorite memory? And if we're able to kind of take that information and wrap it into your letters when we're writing it, it really adds a little bit of personalization to our letter as we're kind of going through it. So we're going to post the autobiographical sketch on our Google Classrooms before the end of the year. So that is something that we usually put a deadline on for you guys to submit before you come back to us. Again, so that this way we're able to write your letters of recommendation before the deadlines, which is something we'll touch upon later, but also that you could take your time and go through it. So that's the autobiographical sketch. Then we're going to be asking the parents to write something. So this is called the parent brag sheet. So, sometimes kids get uncomfortable when their parents brag about them all the time, but this is the parents' opportunity to write all of those wonderful things that you've always wanted to share, and give us a little bit of feedback. The only thing I request is a lot of times I'll see the same answers that are on the autobiographical sketch are on the parent brag sheet. So try and do them separately, right? There's no right or wrong answers. The parent brag sheet is posted on the Google Classroom, but it'll also be posted on the guidance website, so parents will have access to it. And you can either have your child uploaded onto the Google Classroom, or you can just email it to us separately, whatever it is that you prefer. Sometimes parents will want to handwrite it. That's okay. Typing is great. I have a couple of parents where English is not their native language. It's absolutely fine to write it in your native language, and I will just translate it using Google Translate. So that's okay too. So that's the parent brag sheet. And again, it's your ability to kind of give us some information that you would want us to know about your child before we start this process. The last thing that we ask your kids to start completing over the summer is the resume. So since they started with us as freshmen, we've been saying join activities, do something, utilize your time, community service, sports, plays, whatever it is that you're interested in, getting a job, because at some point they're going to be asked to send a resume of activities to their colleges. This is part of the application. One of the things, we don't have a specific format that kids have to use when writing up a resume. They could use any template that they wish. But just to kind of list for us what things that they've done over the summer, the clubs that they've been a part of, any kind of work, and really start to think. I do sometimes say maybe ask your parents if there's anything that you're missing, because your parents had to chauffeur you from place to place. So usually they might remember, oh yeah, this is something that I drove you to. This is a program you took part in. Do you remember when you did this? So again, this is just the time for you to be able to outline your most important things as a part of your resume. And again, doing that over the summer is something that really kind of helps you organize yourself and get ready and kind of take one more thing off your to-do list. And that too, you guys can post up on the Google Classroom as well. Those are my three.
Hey everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about letters of recommendation. So as you know, there are multiple parts to the college application process. The letters of recommendation are a valuable piece to your application. This is where your teachers in the classroom will be able to speak to who you are as a student. Most colleges will usually ask for at least 2 letters of recommendation. So by the end of this year, we ask that you at least speak with 2 teachers from your core academic classes, English, social studies, science, math, or foreign language. If you are looking to pursue a career in fine and performing arts, it might be beneficial for you to also ask at least one teacher within that realm of study to speak to your skills and the attributes that you bring to that program. But ultimately, you want to ask a teacher where you have exhibited really strong student behaviors within their classroom. That doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be a class where you have straight A's the entire year. It actually may be more beneficial for you to have a teacher who has seen you struggle a little bit and you've attended extra help, you've asked questions, you've participated in class, you contribute to the classroom discussion. Really qualities that they can speak to show who you are as a student right now as a junior or in your senior year, that the colleges will know when we accept you into our college, what are we bringing you in? What qualities are you bringing to our classrooms and to our programs that will be valuable to us? So we just ask by the end of this year that you speak with at least 2 of your teachers from your junior year in one of those core areas, and confirm with them that they would be willing to write a letter of recommendation on your behalf. And also just remember, you don't have to have the most amazing relationship with this teacher. You want to find someone who can speak to who you are in that seat as a student. So just be mindful of who you ask, and just be respectful of their time, being that they will have multiple students asking them for letters of recommendation. You want to try to prioritize who's most important for you to speak with right away and have that confirmed before the summer.
Okay, I'm going to be speaking now about one of the most daunting tasks for most students, and that is tackling the college essays. This is an opportunity for students to really self-reflect, delve into that process, think about who they are, what they're all about, what their life experiences have been, what's important to you, what obstacles maybe you've overcome, and really think about some defining moments in your life. With the college essay, we're asking you over the summer, and you heard from our panelists as well, that it's really important to start this process over the summer. If you can really get a great rough draft working during the summer, some of you may even finish your essay and finalize it over the summer, that would be great, because you are coming back to all of your classes and a lot of pressure, that, you know, a lot of things to juggle. So if you can tackle this in advance, that would be very helpful. The essay is the voice of your application. The application itself, they're going to be getting a lot of basic data from you, your name, your address, things like that. This is an opportunity for those who are going to be reading through the application for each college to get a sense of who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you unique, what makes you you. So again, very important to open up, to be personal, and really share whatever it is that you want to share. You can be serious in your essay. You can be witty. I wouldn't try to use humor for the first time if you're not typically a very funny person. Maybe you want to stray away from the humor and stick with what you know and what you're good at. One of the other things as well with the college essays is that once you have a rough draft working, our English teachers in the English department are wonderful about supporting our seniors as they are going through the drafting process. So utilize them. They really are quite helpful. In addition to your English teachers, utilize us counselors. We're here to help you. You may be stuck on a topic. You may struggle to formulate some thoughts. So we can help bring those things out of you a little bit and hopefully get you on your way. It may be tempting in today's day and age with AI to go on the computer, go on the internet, and utilize AI to formulate your college essay. Huge mistake. Again, you want to avoid that. You want to share something personal that's unique to you, and really represent yourself in the best possible light, okay? The next thing we're going to talk about is researching colleges. All of you, hopefully, have been researching colleges since you met with us to review your college planning questionnaire, and after we posted a preliminary list of colleges for you to begin researching on your Naviance account. So that research really continues. As we heard from the panelists, they really encourage you, and we do as well, to be very thorough in your research. Figure out what's most important to you in terms of what you're looking for in a college. We encourage you to keep a very open mind. Again, hearing from the panelists that they too kept an open mind, and they were surprised in many cases by things that they really liked, or even the fact that they're happy at their current college, even if it wasn't their first choice. Your first line of defense in terms of doing your research is going to be going online. It is a great resource to gather as much information as you can preliminarily. If you really like what you see in a college, after doing extensive research online, maybe combing through books, it is a great idea to go to the college's website and go to their admissions page and look to see when they have campus tours and information sessions available for students and parents who want to visit that school. That is, after that preliminary research, the very best way that you can really determine whether or not a school is a great fit for you. As we do this research, this is the fun part, the exciting part. It's kind of like shopping around, right? It's really, really important to think about what is going to be best for you, what the right fit is going to be for you, not for your older siblings or your cousins or your best friends, but again, tailoring it to you and what will serve you well in your future and allow you to reach your goals for the future. If you do go on a campus visit, we really encourage you, in addition to the campus tour and the information session, be mindful that college is a business. They're trying to sell you the school. They're telling you about all the best things about that school. They're showing you the best, newest buildings. After taking that tour or looking into the information session information, please don't be afraid to walk around the campus on your own and just approach students who are there and ask them about their experience there. Chances are they're going to give very open, honest feedback. And remember, they were once in your shoes as well, shopping for colleges. Students, do not be shy. Do not allow your parents to ask those questions and take over for you. We want you to be the ones with the voice. So that's very, very important. Once you start narrowing down the list of schools that you want to apply to, and that is your goal for early September, it's important to have a mixture of target, reach, and likely schools. Your counselors will help you determine, as you finalize that list, which ones are a fit which category, although you should have a rough idea from the research that you do. We will make sure that every student has a minimum of 2 likely schools. We don't know how challenging the year might be in terms of admissions. It's becoming more and more competitive. We want to make sure everyone has at least some place to go the following fall. And we do recommend, because there is a wealth of information out there that you're going to be collecting, to create a spreadsheet or a chart, something that will help organize all of this information that you're compiling. Things like deadlines, application requirements. Every school has different requirements. It's imperative that students really pay attention to those things, create a chart or a spreadsheet, compile all that information in one easy place that's organized, so that that can really help you as you refer to it throughout this process. In addition, next fall, we have many different college representatives and admissions counselors who will be visiting North High to meet with all of our seniors who are interested in applying to their schools or simply learning more about their schools. Some of the visits are in person, many of them are, some will be virtual. We will provide you a list in the fall with a schedule of those schools who are coming, and students will have the opportunity to sign up in advance for those visits and meet typically face-to-face with the admissions counselors of those schools. In addition to hearing information about the schools, the students will also have an opportunity to ask them questions. And oftentimes, these people who come to visit with our students are the individuals who will be reading your application. They are regional, typically representatives, and they oftentimes will read for Great Neck North High School and the tri-state area or Long Island. So it's a really great opportunity for our students.
Ms. Cohen, there were a couple questions that came in during that I just want to touch upon. Somebody had asked if applying to good schools reduces the chances of being accepted. So, my response to that would be that we really work individually with our students to determine the best fit school. And we encourage you to do research to see what's the best fit school for, each student. Another question that came through was about financial aid, and is the best strategy to get in is apply without requesting financial aid. I think I could speak for the counselors here, like that's a family decision. That's not something that we can recommend or encourage. How you are affording college is, again, a family decision. We don't use the term strategy in regard to looking for the best fit school for our students.
Also, I just want to add to that with regard to financial aid, since it did come up in a question. If a student or family is strongly considering applying early decision, please understand that that's a binding contractual agreement. So for any student who's even considering early decision, and we're not there quite yet in the process, but you will be, you have to have researched numerous schools before making such a big decision. And you need to talk about the financial obligation of that school with your family, because it is a binding contractual agreement, to make sure that not only is it the right fit for you, but yes, your family can afford to send you there. Was there another question, Ms. Corrigan?
No, sorry, I'm answering another one.
Okay, thank you.
Electronically.
Thank you.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. So to continue the theme of organization, first of all, I just want to touch on regards to when students are doing their autobiographical sketch for their counselor and parents are completing the parent brag sheet. Those are for your counselor's eyes only. So we encourage you to be thorough. We encourage you to be honest. Don't overthink of what you're putting forward. Trust us. We're, for the letters that we write for our students, of course, we're only going to write positive things and letters to support your applications. Just trust us with that and just answer the prompts honestly, and that'll help us tremendously. So in the summer work you're doing the autobiographical sketch, doing a rough draft of a resume to submit to us, writing a rough draft of your essay, hopefully completing that by the summer, you're then actually going to start working on your applications. You're not going to submit anything over the summer, but as part of the process to get geared up, you are continuing, as you heard, to research your schools. You're finalizing your list. So as you are determining the schools that you're absolutely sure that you're going to apply to, well, then you're going to check which, as part of your organization, what application does that college use. You'll find most of you are going to be using the Common Application along with the CUNY application, maybe the SUNY application, State University of New York. But do all that research, so as you decide where you're going to apply for sure, what application do they use? So you'll probably end up with at least a few schools that you'll be utilizing the Common App for. So we strongly encourage you to register for an account. Usually the Common App goes live August 1, and actually start filling out the questions. Again, you're not submitting anything, but you're going through the application and you're answering the questions. I think it's also a good thing to do, not only that you're kind of getting something done, but you're filling out an application, you're seeing that it's not particularly difficult, that aspect, and it's like something easy that you can kind of take care of. Plus, if you've started working on the application, then you can also better utilize your time with your counselor when you come back in the fall, because you've already gone through it, you've answered what you can, and then you could sit with your counselor and go over the Common App, and they can assist you with fine-tuning the answers to your questions and things like that. So again, all these things that we're encouraging you to do over the summer, as the panelists also say, is to really minimize the stress. That is the one thing that is under your control. You know, being timely with your applications, doing it over this, starting it over the summer where you can be thorough, you're relaxed. It's really, really to your advantage. As you're doing, I think everybody kind of does this nowadays, but just a reminder that any work that you are doing for colleges, your rough draft of your essays, etc., make sure that you're saving it somewhere else, not on just on your desktop computer at home, whether it's on Google Drive or your flash drive. Also, just another thing that students will have to do, in late August, early September, your transcript will be available for you to see on your campus backpack. Make sure you've reviewed your transcript to make sure everything is correct. That goes from things like your spelling of your name, your parents' name, your address, your phone number, and then going over the transcript and making sure that all the grades seem correct. You're also making sure that there are no incompletes as a final grade, because that would be a clerical error, because we can't send transcripts out that have been incomplete. But again, like this is your transcript. It represents, reflects the work that you've done through high school. You want to go over it, make sure it's correct. We as counselors go over your transcripts as well, but obviously it's something that you want to take ownership over, and then you yourself want to make sure, like, okay, everything is correct.
A couple of questions came through that I just want to touch on before we move on to something else. They were great questions. Somebody was asking about a recommendation from somebody who's not a teacher at North High. Some colleges will accept outside letters of recommendation. Some won't accept those at all. If your child has either an employer or they work for a volunteer, or worked with a volunteer organization and has a recommendation from them, they actually invite that person to submit it directly through the Common App. So it doesn't come to us. It doesn't come through. It doesn't get sent through Naviance, which is our web-based program that our teachers use. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then there was another question about if there are any disciplinary problems with a child, does that get disclosed in the guidance counselor recommendation? I guess I can answer this in saying that, our letter is to talking about what Ms. Torres was saying in the beginning about the character sketch and the parent brag sheet, to talk about each student's growth throughout their time at North High, and to talk about how far they've come. That's not something that we disclose. It's not something that's on the transcript. Anybody else? I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in, or if there's any more to say about that.
Yeah, so disciplinary records are not part of what is sent to colleges, nor is it something that we would write about. Our letters of recommendation are to support the students and highlight the positives. We certainly would not do anything in a letter to hurt a student.
There was a question about, and it kind of jumped, actually, we'll talk about, there's another question, but I'll talk about it at the end. And then Ms. Torres, if you can maybe just speak to if there's a student who we're going to talk about this in the next one too. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping ahead too. A student who's been in the US for less than 5 years, but let's see if it comes up in our next slide.
Okay, so this is me. I get the really fun part. Everyone had some nice parts before. Ms. Cohen talked about the fun of researching colleges. I get standardized testing, but no. So over the last few years, the importance and the relevance of standardized testing has kind of progressively come back. Now we're a few years removed from COVID. So it is part of the puzzle again. And when we met early in the year with juniors, a big part of our discussion was standardized testing. We encouraged them to take the PSATs back in the fall. And then we told them to take the SAT or ACT sometime during junior year. There are still a lot of colleges that are test optional. However, each year it seems more and more move back to requiring standardized testing. So our recommendation to students is always to test, to take possibly both the SAT and ACT, especially if they're not sure which test is better for them. So hopefully by now, everybody has at least tried either the ACT or SAT. We are in June. Several testing dates have passed. If you have not tested, there are still opportunity. In the summer months for SAT, there is an August date. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of test centers, especially on Long Island, that are open for the August date. But there are dates in the fall where students can still test for the first time or to follow up and take a test a second time. Obviously, some of our students take it even more than twice. But there are dates for both the ACT and SAT in the fall. So certainly that's something to consider. The second part of testing also involves sending scores to colleges. Once you decide which schools you are going to apply to, and you have checked what their requirements are for testing, you will have to have your scores officially sent from the testing agency. We do not put scores on our transcript. We do not send them from the school. They have to be officially sent from ACT or College Board. And of course, they're going to charge you for that as well. So that's kind of the two pieces of ACT and SAT testing. Another thing to keep in mind, the TOEFL or the Duolingo test. If English is not your first language and you have been in the United States for less than 5 years, most schools require one of those two tests for admission. And you can see those links to register for those exams on our PowerPoint.
Sorry, I'm just going to add one thing about the TOEFL and the Duolingo exam. So for students who are not here from the United States, colleges will have on their websites what they require in terms of whether or not you need the Duolingo or the TOEFL exam. So each college differs slightly depending on whether or not you've taken the English regions, what your score is. Sometimes they can use that to exempt you if you've already taken some other standardized tests. So they can use those, but unfortunately, it's a little tedious. You have to go back to each of the school's individual websites. I apologize for the dog standing behind me. He got through the door just as I was about to speak.
We're all loving it, Ms. Tortorise. We're loving it.
So you have to really do a little bit of work to see whether or not they're going to require that you submit those scores.
Okay, submitting applications to guidance. So, this is really an important part of the process. And we have dates here, and we will really hammer these dates home with the seniors once the fall starts. So it's not really so much the dates that I want to discuss now. It's just really how the process works. Um, Early in this meeting, Ms. Tortorice was talking about the um, the items that we ask the students to complete over the summer: the autobiographical character sketch, a resume or an activity sheet, rough draft of an essay, and parents, the brag sheet. So basically, when those things are done, we're going to have students meet with us to initiate the college application process, because we don't want students waiting until their application is complete to come see us, because a lot of times they don't finish with the application until the deadline gets close. So the idea is for students to be working on the application while we're working on the application in terms of the counselor recommendation, organizing the transcript, and also teachers to be working on their part of the application, which is their letters of recommendation, all simultaneously with the goal of getting applications out before the deadline. Okay, so that's why when we ask students to meet with us, we ask them to give us 15 school days before that first deadline, so we can have the time to write the letter of recommendation, which is an involved letter. It's a personalized letter, a comprehensive letter, so it does take time. After the initial application, we're able to turn things around quicker. But that's why we want the lead time. That's why we have these dates. And again, these dates we will go over more thoroughly. We'll remind both students and parents when we start up school in the fall of what the expectations are. But again, the important part is to get that autobiographical character sketch, the activity sheet or resume, rough draft of the essay done over the summer, so you're ready to meet with us and to start the process of completing applications.
I just wanted to, before we talk about senior year, there were some great questions that came through about this. There was just one more about recommendations. That was a great question. Somebody asked if the two teacher letters of recommendation need to come from different departments. As Ms. O'Hara had mentioned, is that it's encouraged that um, students ask teachers in their junior or senior year. So it's not required that they're in two different departments, but being able to show a diversity in subject matter, or having two different departments, is helpful. But again, we can always speak to the student to help them to decide who they might be thinking about asking. um, I heard our panelists talk about their senior year classes, and I thought that was really helpful as we're talking about this today. So applicants will put on their application the courses that are in progress, as well as the classes that students are taking will be listed on their transcript, and that will go to every college that they're applying to. Some schools will require first quarter grades, particularly if you apply early, which happens usually around the first week of November. Many schools will require mid-year grades, which is first and second quarter grades, regardless of when you apply to that school. So it's really important for students to feel comfortable and confident in their classes before they apply to a college, and that they request that we send a transcript to a college. Thinking about like what Layla had said, and even Jay, in utilizing your summer so that when you start school, you can be a student and not have to worry about your college applications, to make sure that you can be successful in your classes. So one of the questions that came through about classes and grades was that when the transcripts, like when transcripts are submitted, because our district policy for a drop date is midway through December. That's correct, but once a student requests that we send a transcript, we usually get it out, like Mr. Neary was just saying, within 2 weeks. So once that transcript is released with the schedule on it, the colleges will be looking for grades in those particular classes. So that's why it's important that students feel comfortable and confident in their classes before they request that we submit anything to colleges. I don't know if there's anything else to
Can
add.
I
Go
raise,
ahead.
I just want to bring up one thing. We really are obviously asking students to complete the guidance homework, the character sketch, the parents completing the brag sheet, the resume over the summer, but we're also encouraging students to work on those applications. Please don't submit those applications without someone else looking them over. It could be the guidance counselor when we return, but all applications, essays, even if you're a gifted writer, you're still a human being, you still might make errors. A second set of eyes on the application and on the essays is really important. You want your applications to be the best reflection of you, and you don't want to make silly mistakes.
If I could just jump in with one other thing really quick. So in terms of finalizing, narrowing down your college list through the summer, it's really important that as you decide what college what the colleges you're going to apply to, that you really become familiar with the admissions page, the instructions for each individual college. That is where, if you're going to apply to College X's admissions page is what you should be really thorough and taking all your directions from. Each individual college is going to very clearly tell you what they expect from you, what their deadlines are. Every single applicant, all seniors or rising juniors, need to be familiar with that. In terms of organizing yourself, you need to do exactly what the school is asking you to do if you want to apply to that school successfully. And you cannot presume that what one college is asking for is going to be the same for every other college. So it's super important that as you decide where you're applying, that you really are familiar with everything put forth on that college's admissions page.
Thank you for mentioning that, Mr. Hardassi. I was responding to some individual questions, saying the same thing, because people are asking specific to majors and requirements. So, yeah.
Can I add one last thing? Sorry, everyone. Just try and remember to have fun. We mentioned a lot of things to you guys. We went through standardized testing and researching colleges, and we're throwing kind of some heavy stuff at you. But this should be a time when your family is really working together and going through things, but also sometimes taking a step back and taking a break from it. And trying not to put so much pressure on it that it causes arguments or fights or anything along those lines. Like, sometimes just take a deep breath and realize that it's a process. And if you start to struggle with that and become overly anxious, or the kids do, or you do, or it's causing friction, call us. And we can kind of help you through the process. Remember to take a deep breath and realize that we will work you through the process every step of the way, but also to, maybe take a night off once a week from kind of doing this stuff, and realizing that there are other things that you can do together as a family besides talk about college.
That's so nice. Thank you, Ms. Tortorese. We have to end on that. That's, sunshine and rainbows. Perfect. So, were there any other questions in the chat, Ms. Corrigan?
No, I think that was it.
Okay. So an hour and 15 minutes, pretty good. We went a little over, but I think we had a great panel, and I think we provided juniors and parents with tons of homework to do. And we thank you for being part of this evening. Wishing you a great end of the school year and a very relaxing and enjoyable summer ahead. Thank you, everybody. Good night.